All right, good afternoon, everyone. Before I get started, if you just joined us, I want to thank you for spending your afternoon with us. I want to introduce myself pretty quickly. My name is Brian Joseph. I'm one of the senior sales managers at CDW. Today's webinar is really going to be focused on learning return to work strategies. And of course, we're also going to provide some tips on how to improve your golf game. Today, I'm joined by Oleg Tolchinsky. He's one of the technical leaders at Cisco. And we also have Sean Casey, who's one of our golf pros. Next slide, please. So one of the exciting parts of working at CDW is we work in a very fast-paced environment. And although we've been forced to evolve, it's not different for many of our customers. They're evolving at an extremely fast pace as well. But when I think of CDW and what that really means for me, it's really that we have a long track record of financial performance. And what that's allowed us to do is really reinvest back into the business. So no secret, CDW has made a large acquisition back in 2019 where we acquired Scalar Decisions. Scalar was really known and was branded as being able to solve some of the most complex issues for our customers. Now, we want to introduce you to the new CDW. We're going to talk through some of our solutions and the way we approach our Cisco business. So you can next slide. So before we dive into the material, and I want to share this quick background, quick update about CDW. CDW is the leading IT solutions and services partner in Canada. And we do this by integrating and managing technologies to help our customers achieve their desired outcomes. Next slide. Okay, so this slide here, there's a lot to look at. What I really want to focus on is, CDW holistically, we're a large organization. We're a Fortune 200. We have over 10,000 employees. Now, what that means for us here in Canada, we have about 1,000 coworkers. But CDW is a wholly owned subsidiary. And what that means is we stand on our own 2 feet. We make our own decisions here in country. And that's decision made for both our employees as well as our Canadian customers. Now, globally, we're an $18 billion organization. We have over 250,000 customers internationally. And the reason why I'd like to call out that's definitely the one that I'm most proud of. Regardless of where you sit, you could be here in Canada or somewhere else internationally, customers have a lot of choice. So the fact that we have over 250,000 customers that trust CDW and 25,000 plus here in Canada, it really does speak to the volume of the good work that we've been doing. Next slide. So as we talk about orchestration by CDW, I want to talk through our approach as well as what resources we have made available to you. Next slide. So in Canada, we have just under 300 ITS coworkers. And ITS is really our integrated technology team. So this is a mix of solutions architects, service delivery engineers, project managers, and so on. Now, these guys are vendor neutral. They're focused on highly specialized individuals, and they have a really candid approach in providing their point of view on any projects or solutions that you're working on. Now, please keep in mind that these are a great resource to tap into. There's no fee to use them. And I strongly encourage to reach out to your account manager if you ever need to set a call. Next slide. Now, many of our competitors sell the same products that you find here at CDW. And one of the major differentiators that you'll see when working with us is that we have the resources and the capabilities to help you design, to orchestrate, as well as to manage. And what I often hear from our customers is that their IT staffs, they're continuously challenged to bring value back to their organization. And we believe the right mix is by providing our architects, but as well as pairing that with both professional and managed services to help deliver the intended outcomes that your organization is asking you to achieve. So in saying that, beyond the ability to design, to integrate, or to deploy, we also do have a managed services team, which is really able to help you to really take advantage of your technology investments. And as well, if you're not looking for a managed service, we do have the consultation to help you with adoption services. Next slide. So really, why Cisco with CDW? I've been with the organization for about 15 years. This relationship goes back predating myself at the organization. It's a very strong partnership. As we look at the next few slides, we'll talk through some of the awards and the recognitions that we won with Cisco, and then afterwards I'll pass it off to Oleg. Next slide. So CDW, we're one of Cisco's largest strategic solutions providers by revenue in country, who's also a gold integrator partner. And we have dual master specializations in both security as well as networking. When we look at the commercial segment and the small business segment, we're #1 in country. And we're also one of the fastest growing in both the segments of the public sector and enterprise. Next slide. In terms of recognitions, we were the Architectural Excellence Partner of the Year for both security as well as collaboration. We also achieved the America's Software Partner of the Year, the Commercial Partner of the Year, and the Marketing Velocity America's Partner of the Year. So no shortage of awards or recognition with one of our favorite partners here, Cisco. We have an extremely strong and robust practice, and we made tons of investments in this area. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Oleg. The one thing I will encourage is towards the end of the presentation here, you will hear a follow-up call from one of your account managers, and Oleg will jump through his slides and share some of his updates. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you very much. Let me share my screen. Let's see if this works. Not the presenter view. Perfect. Hello, everybody. My name is Oleg Tolchinsky, and I lead the architecture sales organization for Cisco Canada, which practically speaking means that I have the absolute privilege of leading a large number of our great technical minds around topics like collaboration, security, networking, etc. All of the pieces that go into this topic of returning to work, which I'd like to talk to you about today. And again, I just want to echo what Brian said and say thank you. We are nothing without our customers, and the fact that you are giving us a little bit of your time means a lot, and I hope to make it worthwhile. So as we think about returning to work, I love talking about this topic. You may ask what makes me qualified to talk about this. For a large portion of my career, I worked alongside our customers in solving some of the most pressing collaboration challenges, even back in the early days before this became a mainstream topic that was relevant to everybody. I have a networking and a security background, and those things happen to come together to enable and underpin a lot of the technological return to work strategies that we'll be talking about. And we refer to this as building the hybrid workplace, because what we really see is the future of the workplace is hybrid. And I'll talk about what exactly that means, because I know that can be a little bit of a hand-wavy, kind of a, buzzwordy term, but there is a real practical meaning behind this, which we will talk about. If my slides will advance. Okay, I'll do it that way. So, first of all, we are going through one of the largest disruptions, one of the most, not even largest, but one of the most rapid disruptions that we've ever seen to the way that we do work. So as you see the statistic here, 98% of companies will have a true hybrid workforce for the first time ever in their existence, and that will be underpinned in very large part by technology. And I'll talk about exactly what that means. But the point I want to make here, besides putting up a big statistic, is just saying that in a very real sense, companies that seize this opportunity of this transformation will pull ahead. And there's a couple of ways in which that happens. First of all, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what business you carry out, you do that through your people. You do that through an engaged workforce. And we see the latest statistic I saw from one of our own studies was something like 80% of people are demanding more choice, more flexibility in the way they do work, where they do it, when they do it, etc. So that is a big part of having an engaged, productive workforce. The other piece of this, and very related to it, is this topic of the Great Resignation, which you may have heard of, as the industry calls it, right? So there are a lot of people. My wife is a perfect example. She just left just a few weeks ago her very well-paying leadership job of 20 years because she wanted to do something different. It seems to exist heavily in the 30 to 45-year-old age bracket, and we have a lot of people that are making career decisions. And so there are going to be winners and losers in this, just to put it very plainly, in the sense that companies that don't offer some of the flexibility and some of the choice that their employees are demanding will stand to lose some of their talent. Conversely, those that do stand to gain some excellent talent that is now available in the job market. So that's why this whole thing is important. And before I get into it, I also want to acknowledge that this isn't a totally new idea. We've been going through some form of transformation in how we do work for the last couple of decades. What's different is simply the pace at which this is now happening. We kind of, made 10 years of progress, but practically overnight. And so if you think about it, we moved from the traditional workplace, which was very process oriented and very static. Everybody had a job. They did their job at their desk. It was quite individualized. There'd be the odd meeting, but generally speaking, this is where the cubicle was born in 1965, by the way, as I learned in doing my research for this. That's when they invented the cubicle. And over the last 10 or 20 years, we've been moving to this idea of the agile workplace, which is largely activity-based, which is just a simple response to the world that we live in. We have an ever-changing world with changing challenges that we're presented with. And so we have to be able to build dynamic teams of people to come together, disband as appropriate to solve some of the pressing challenges that businesses face. And so workplaces started to shift to adapt to that, meaning they became more activity-based, more open floor plans, maybe some more meeting spaces, but still generally people came to the office to do their job. As the pandemic happened, we were forced to make everybody a remote worker. And now what that's driving is a hybrid approach, which means giving our employees the choice on where they work, when they work, and how they work. So to get a little more specific on that, and we were talking not too long ago with the head of real estate for a very large brand recognizable organization, and kind of said, well, so what does hybrid work actually practically mean to you as you try to manage this whole thing? And what he told us was, there are a few key differences. First of all, flexible work or agile work that we've been building towards for the last 10 or 20 years was quite limited, right? At any given time, you'd have 10 or 20% of the population that was a remote worker. It was usually roughly the same 10 or 20% of people that worked remotely, and everybody else still kind of came to the office. It was predictable, and you could build around that. Now we're talking about doing this at scale. So now everybody could presumably be both a remote and an in-office worker at any given time. And what that leads to is this idea of structure versus autonomy. When you have a structured workplace, you can build for that. You can predict for that. You can invest for that. You can buy tools for that. However, when you give people autonomy, now we're seeing organizations struggle with simple questions like who's even going to be in the office at any given day? And if some people are here and some people are at home, how do we make sure that they have productive conversations together? And finally, a big difference between the idea of flexible work that we've been working on for the last several years and hybrid work is flexible work was entirely about location. It was either you work in the office or you work remotely. This is about location. Hybrid work is about location. It's about time. It's about the way you work. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in just a moment. Before we get into any talk of solutions, I want to just make sure that we identify a few of the challenges that we universally see our customers having as they embark on this journey in trying to build out the hybrid workplace of the future. So if you think about it, the remote work situation that the pandemic forced us into was largely a patchwork, right? Everybody just took the tools they had, kind of threw them at the problem and tried to make people basically productive at home. And I would say the industry did a pretty good job of that. Now, as we think about making this a sustainable business practice, it's time to revisit some of the technology decisions and make sure that not only are they just adequate to connect people remotely, but actually contribute to the productivity of our employees. The other thing we're seeing is that IT doesn't have the tools to support what we call the office of one. And what we mean by that is if you think about, if you had a company of 1,000 people that worked in 2 office buildings, and suddenly everybody got sent home, you no longer have 2 offices, you have 1,000 offices of 1 person, and IT infrastructure simply is not built typically to support that sort of a model. It's drastically different. And finally, and very importantly, and something that's very near and dear to me as a person that works for a large organization from Winnipeg, and I am a remote worker, I have been, for a large part of my career, we have to ensure that we maintain inclusivity. If we're not careful, there's the very real risk that we will create in-groups and out-groups of employees. In-groups of people that come to the office and get to partake in that culture, and then the out-groups of people that choose to work from home, or perhaps work from home out of necessity. And so we need to ensure, as we're thinking about this, that everybody's voice is heard, that everybody's opinion is accounted for, and they can contribute. The other thing we're seeing is in terms of office space design. Offices are simply not designed for hybrid work. And so, and that makes sense, right? Like, we've proven throughout the pandemic that we absolutely do not need an office to get individual work done. You can sit on your laptop and do your individual work at home. We have demonstrated that that is entirely effective. The office is still necessary, however. It just has to change. It's necessary for the fact that, as a person representing a company that makes some of the best collaboration tools in the business, there's still something magical about bringing people together in a physical space and allowing them to work together. And our offices need to fulfill that function. It's very critical to the health of decision making and the generation of ideas that we're able to foster that sort of behavior. And so that is going to change what the office fundamentally looks like. I'll talk about that. Well, actually, the practical manifestation of that is more meeting spaces, more collaboration spaces that are increasingly video enabled, because again, remember, some people are going to be remote in this equation. We also see that expectations around things like hot desking. So we see this big move happening in the industry. Certainly Cisco has moved this way towards hot desking. And with that has come a new slew of expectations, because people are coming from working at home, which is, the most supremely customizable office you will ever work in, your own house. And so there are now expectations of customizability as you arrive at the office and how that office adapts to you. And finally, what we see is that employees will need new tools in order to make it easier. You want to draw people into the office to do that collaborative work together. And if it takes them 15 minutes in an IT support case in order to get their video meeting going, that is not a frictionless experience. That is not an experience that anybody wants to use. So we have to account for those things. Third, we see that work needs to be simplified. So it can't be this tool for meetings and that one for calling and something else for messaging. That's complicated. It takes away from productivity, but it goes well beyond that. It can't be 10 clicks in 5 minutes to log on to a VPN. It can't be another 5 steps to securely access an application. All of those things not only detract from productivity, but they generate IT support cases. It is purely lost productivity for organizations. And a big part of that is we need as few tools as possible to fulfill these needs. We can't force our people to switch around and constantly learn and adapt to new tools that we put into the environment. And finally, workflows need to be collaboration enabled. And what I mean by that is suddenly we're in a situation where you can't simply walk over to your colleague's desk and see what they're working on. So how do we implement the right tools to recreate that same sort of experience in a remote capacity? And speaking of new tools, sorry, 1 second here. Having trouble changing slides. Okay, speaking of new tools, there are new tools that go beyond the employee. So IT themselves, right? So IT needs a new set of capabilities. For example, if the employee is at home and the application they're accessing is in the cloud, you are now supporting 2 resources that are not in the 4 walls of your organization. How do you see what that experience is like? If somebody calls with a problem, how do you measure that? How can you tell if they're having a good experience or a bad one, or what exactly is broken? So that is one of those things. Facilities managers need to understand how that real estate is being utilized. So there's a very real decision that's being made by organizations in terms of how much real estate do we keep in this world? And we know that it's important to have it for the reasons I outlined earlier, but it's still on a balance sheet. Real estate tends to be one of the most expensive line items. So how do we make sure that if we build it, that people will actually come and use it as it's intended? So, or in other words, can we use tools that we already have, like our wireless network, to actually show us physically how people move through a space and how they utilize workplace assets? And finally, again, very importantly, does HR have the necessary tools to ensure the well-being of employees and the safety of employees? What if we can use some of those same investments, some of those same tools to drive greater employee well-being and give employees insights into how they work and perhaps steps they could be taking to improve their own overall well-being? So if I just slow that down a little bit, I went through a lot of stuff there, and it's not, the intent is not to throw a bunch of problems at you with no answer. The idea is that there is a lot to consider here. This is more than any one tool is going to solve. And to try to address this entire conversation of, the technology-enabled hybrid workplace, we have created a model aptly called the 4 steps to the hybrid workplace. And I'll step through these very briefly, but of course it would be our privilege to have a deeper conversation on every one of these. As you can imagine, there's a lot that comes with every one of these topics. So let's start with the first one, which is updating your office spaces. So one of the journeys we see our customers embarking upon is this journey to kind of modernize the workspace. And what does that look like? So this idea deals with a few different things, which I'll summarize. It deals with the idea of using signage, which sounds like it's a deceptively simple thing, but as the situation changes, as workplace regulations change, as you make updates to your office or change policies in your company, one of the most effective ways to communicate that to employees is through the use of simple digital signage, which can very easily be updated, changed on demand as the situation dictates. It's the idea of video enabling your collaboration spaces, of rethinking how you do hot desking and what that means from a user's perspective, and also prioritizing tools that take some of the friction out of using workplace assets, as I talked about a little bit earlier. From a remote work sustainability perspective, this is all about ensuring that employees have the tools that they need in order to be productive and engaged. It's about removing the barriers that we see to remote work and inclusivity. From the perspective of simplifying how work gets done, this topic deals with the idea of ensuring a consistent user experience regardless of location or activity of the employee, and creating workflows that are more in harmony with a dispersed workforce. And since nobody wants more tools to get their work done, this priority also deals with how can we integrate collaboration capabilities directly into your applications, your business applications that you use every day, and reduce the amount of complexity that any user needs to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And finally, from the perspective of managing people, spaces, and technology, this topic deals with IT visibility, real-time information on how workspaces are being utilized, security for everyone, no matter where they may be and how they may be working, and information which proves very valuable because obviously all of these things come with an investment. Information on how those investments and whether those investments are actually being utilized to their greatest effect becomes incredibly important as you make financial decisions around your return to work strategy. So in the short amount of time we had today, I just wanted to give you a model or a way of thinking about some of the things that go into this thing that we call hybrid work or return to work. It is a topic that is more than a collaboration tool, and this is where Cisco is different. This is about, is your network ready? Is your wireless network ready to handle an entirely new dynamic within the office? And can you use it for more than just connecting people, like monitoring your real estate assets? It's about ensuring a consistent security strategy, security that follows a user from their office space to their home to anywhere else they may choose to work, and of course, a complete suite of collaboration tools like calling, meetings, messaging, etc. And I will leave this off only by saying Cisco, along with our partners at CDW, would be honored to have this conversation with you, explore what the future of work means to your business. Not every one of the things I talked about is going to be relevant to everyone, but what we'd like to do is to figure out which of these make sense for your organization and help you jointly develop a strategy to address some of the needs of your employees in the ever-changing workplace. And with that, to golf.
Thank you so much, Oleg. It was great to hear from you. As a reminder on that note, you will hear from your CDW account manager after the event. But of course, if you have any questions in the meantime, please don't hesitate to reach out. On that note, it is my pleasure to welcome Sean Casey, former Canadian Teaching Professional of the Year. During this time, we do encourage everyone to join us on camera for the best interactive experience. So welcome, Sean.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. Welcome, guys and girls. I'm in Oakville, Ontario here at my indoor facility. So I've set up the putting mat. And Mackenzie, did you say that everybody did receive one of those, or what did they get? They got a putter and a mat?
That's correct.
Awesome. I would encourage you to set that up. If you can get a putter in your hands and get a few golf balls down on the ground and get that mat rolled out. I'm going to try to go through what I see as some good ways to utilize it and get you guys interacting a little bit and going through this with me. So by all means, go ahead and stand up and grab your putters and we can go through some stuff. Just a quick intro. I was at Glen Abbey for 20 years. Some of you probably heard of Glen Abbey. We hosted the Canadian Open there for a long time. And I grew up in St. John, New Brunswick, though, and went to University of New Brunswick there. And I was at Glen Abbey for 20 years. And they closed when COVID hit. Unfortunately, we had a really great golf academy there, a number of instructors, but the academy closed. So I opened up this indoor facility. You're sort of seeing a little snippet of it, the putting green, but we've got 15 hitting bays and TrackMan simulators in here. So it's expanding. I've got 10 bays in the space I'm in right now, but I just rented the space next door. We're in an outlet mall, and I'm sure as you've seen, going to buy clothes at clothing stores is somewhat of a dying breed. A lot of people ordering online. So I'm in an outlet mall, and I actually just took over 2 former clothing stores. So currently in a former Edition L store, and I just took over the West 49 next door. So it's exciting. But I'm on an artificial, pretty flat putting surface. So it's, but anyway, this is our indoor facility, and we're reopening next week with the 2 units. So pretty exciting times here. I'll try to stand back where you can see all of me here. So yes, if you can get your putter in your hands. And did everybody receive the same putter, or did you get different putters?
They all would have received the same one.
Can somebody put it up to the screen? I'm just kind of curious what you got here. Yeah. Okay. 2 ball, and that's the one you received. So it's a 2 ball, would be an Odyssey. Nice. That's a yeah. That is a kind of a go-to. Has to be one of the best rated putters of all time. I think every great golfer, if you played golf for a long time, everybody had a 2 ball at some point. I've got friends that still use their old 2 ball. So, I've got something similar. It's definitely a great putter. I'm using a TaylorMade, but, similar in that not 2 balls, but I've got lots of weight and mass in behind where you hit the ball. The mallet style putter. Again, you can kind of see the shape of mine, kind of funky, but I did want to talk about that a little bit. For those of you that use blade putters, if you're not a good putter, if you're using and nothing against Scotty Camerons, they're beautiful, and Tiger uses one and so on. But if you're struggling with your Scotty Cameron, by all means, I think most Scotty Camerons should just be almost like they're nice to look at, but if you're not making a lot of putts with it, I would definitely go to something more like the 2-ball. They're much more forgiving. A blade putter is very similar to using like a blade set of irons where there's no forgiveness. So yeah, I'm all about the forgiveness. I got 2 little kids. I teach a lot of golf. I don't play as much as I would like. I definitely don't practice as much as I like. So I'm also looking for the most forgiveness I can get. But that 2-ball is definitely a good one. When it comes to the actual length of the putter, something that some of you might consider, I'm assuming you all received, maybe someone can comment, but probably 35, 34 inches long. Anybody know?
34.
34. That's good. That's probably a good length to send everybody, but some of you might be better with 33, and some of you taller folks might be better with 35. So definitely going through a little putter fitting and getting the length correct can be very helpful when you go to set up and get into a good posture. Mine, probably 33 and a half, but definitely going through a putter fitting for those of you that are more serious about it, definitely worth it. But other than that, we're going to get into just how to hold the putter to start, and then we're going to talk about the stroke a little bit. I'm going to actually get you guys hit the putts on the green. When it comes to actually holding the club, if you can get your putter ready here, there's a very, and I'm going to stand a little closer. I know you can't see my head and everything, but I want you to just see how I'm holding it here. With most normal golf swings, when you set up, if I was setting up to hit a driver or something, there'd probably be some angle in here between my arms and the club. So in other words, I'd already be well on my way to having some wrist hinge. But when I swing the club in golf, full swing, I'm going to cock those wrists this way. And in my setup, unless you're Bryson DeChambeau, you start with some. You've got some wrist hinge to start. And as you go, you add to it. With putting, we want 0 and maintain that. So the big thing with putting is we want to get the club, the shaft, in line with the arms the whole time. This really kills the wrists. If you struggle with getting handsy and you feel like your hands get too active and you're trying to find a way to hold the club where you're not too active with the hands, most important thing, and you see it with all the pros, is they all hold the putter in a way that the shaft lines up with the forearms, no matter what style of grip. So I'd like you to try this, is put the club out, let it go into your palms. So I'll go a little closer there, is don't do your normal grip where you're kind of on the top like this and you see the 2 knuckles and all that stuff. Rotate the hand around. In other words, you can see when you look at the top of your grip, you can see the flat spot on the grip. I don't want a whole lot of your hand here. So there's my my left hand and my right. So a lot of this part of the grip is visible. If I bring it more like this, where you can't see that part of the grip, now I'm holding the club more in the fingers, much more tendency to get handsy. So more of we call it a palm grip. You're going to hold it more in the palms. And if you hold it out here in front of you and just let the mass of the putter go down, it'll put your wrists into this uncocked position. Then what I want you to do is bring your elbows in till they hit the sides of your body. Stand tall, so you're just in good posture, and then tilt from there. And tilt over. You might not tilt to where the club goes all the way to the ground, but it'll get pretty close, and then just drop it down from there. So now I'm in a good tilted posture from my hips. I'm not standing too tall or hunched in the upper back. I'm doing a hip hinge from the waist, and I've got the shaft in line with my forearms. You want to feel like your elbows are almost grazing the sides of your belly here and the sides of your body. So when I putt, I do kind of feel my elbows scraping the sides of my belly here a little bit right here. I don't want to be like this. I don't think you'll turn on the TV and watch the Ryder Cup and see too many of them doing this. Again, Bryson has lots of different ways of doing things. I'm not saying it can't work, but he's like way out. We can talk maybe a little bit more about that later, but for the most part, you're going to see connected, elbows close to the body, hands high. Feel like the hands are kind of high. And if you try that right now, I think you'll like the feel of it. Is getting those hands high, going to help quiet those wrists down. Does anybody have any questions at this point? I know we're early on, but is everything, you hear me okay? Anybody try that? Yep.
There was a question in the chat for you.
Yeah, great.
Sorry, Bradley, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, on the just the bottom hand on the bottom hand on the palm grip. How does that look, King? Can you show that one more time?
Yeah. So, I do a reverse overlap, or sorry, I do a left hand low. So what I do, I'm putting this way as a righty. I put my right hand as a righty at the top of the club. It's got a bend in it, so I almost feel like I'm doing this when I putt. I'm not doing that. I'm not giving it a wrist flick. I feel like I'm just pushing it this way. My left hand is low and kind of extended, and it feels flat. So if you look at my lead wrist, my left wrist, it's quite flat.
Okay.
This is
Gotcha.
what I feel like I'm doing with my left wrist, flat and staying flat. Right wrist is bent and staying bent. Now, the grip I was taught as a kid that Tiger, Jack Nicklaus, probably the most famous putting grip of all time, is reverse overlap. That's a little more traditional. Bring my left hand up to the top. It's still very different than the normal putting grip because it is more in the palms. But we put the first finger of my top hand over the fingers of the lower hand. You zoom in closely on Rory McIlroy. You'll see this is still a very popular putting grip. Tiger uses it. Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer used it. It's probably the most popular putting grip in the history of golf. Reverse overlap.
Right.
Yeah. I for whatever reason putted great as a kid, and then when I was 25, I don't know, I started missing some putts, and I lost my confidence, and I went to the the left hand low. I flipped them around, and I just went out Glen Abbey one night after work and played 9 holes, and I think I must have had 9 putts. I don't think I missed a putt on the 9, and I never went back. So I still hold it that way. I think if I was taught this as a kid, I probably would have used it right out of the gate. I really, really like the left hand low grip.
Yeah, I've never used that one, but I'll definitely try it.
Yeah, it's another popular one. I think it's probably the most popular now, where reverse overlap was, but that's sort of taken over the years.
Thanks for that.
So, I'm not going to go into all the grip variations. We covered some of them. They're all in the palms. Shaft lines up at the forearms, no matter what. Whether you're doing funky stuff like this, claw, like you name it. There's lots of ways to hold it, but make sure that lines up with your from your elbows down, your forearms. As far as the setup in the ball position, I'm gonna give you the Tiger Woods way of doing it, which covers off 2 things: how far forward and backward is your ball. So we want to make sure it's not too far forward or too far back, but we also don't want the ball to be too far out or too close to our feet. So the way to kind of take care of that and get into a good spot is if I told you that I want the ball, after you get into your good posture and you tilt over, I want the ball under your eyes, so your eyes are over the ball. If they were going to be on one side of the ball or the other, I would say it would be okay if they were just on the inside of the ball. So the ball would be maybe just a little further out, but I'm trying to get the ball under my left eye. So this is something that Tiger does a lot to test it. He sets up and then he takes the ball and he just drops it from the left eye, and it landed right on my ball. So that's perfect. The other ball went rolling away, but it's okay. So that's a good way to test your ball position, is just set up, try to feel like it's right under your lead eye if you're putting that way, the one closer to the hole, and then see if you can drop the ball right on it. That's where you want the ball. It's a little forward, a little bit closer to my front foot, which gets the club rising a little bit into the ball. So I'm just feeling like I'm hitting up on the ball ever so slightly to help get the ball rolling and not get backspin. Believe it or not, you hit down on a putt. You can get backspin on a putt right off the face. You get high-speed cameras, get down and you can get some slow motion video. You'll see it. But good putters put a nice roll on the ball and get the ball rolling end over end quickly. You want to hit up on the ball a little bit to help encourage that. As far as something that just came up my mind, I'll just be quick on this. But the loft of a putter, putters do have a little bit of loft to them. If you're putting on slow greens, if your greens are maybe stimp meter 8, 9, maybe 7, 8, 9, if you're playing a course that just doesn't have super fast greens, I would encourage you to have more loft. When the grass is longer and there's more there, you actually want your ball to get a little bit airborne off the start, getting that. And the balls, for the most part, when people putt, they don't know this, but they do go airborne for a foot or two and then into a roll. You want a little bit more air on slow greens. And if you're on really, really fast greens, you don't need that loft. You get the grass cut down real short. You're going to want that ball not going airborne. You need less loft on very fast greens. So it is something to consider. Like if you look down at your putter, you probably, if you look at it closely, you can see a little bit of the face. You know, there's probably 4-ish degrees of loft on your putter right now. But again, you can get it bent to maybe suit the greens that you putt on. Going to go into the technique a little bit, the stroke. It's a quick thing. I just would ask some of you, does anybody here try to have what you would consider to be a straight stroke? Do you try to like feel, in other words, if I put a 2x4 down on the ground, do you think that putter should ride the 2x4 or that 4x4, that piece of wood the whole time? Is there anybody here trying to achieve that in their putting stroke? A straight, dead straight stroke. Anybody willing to share their answer on that?
I would say I don't know how that would be achieved, to be honest.
That's good. I agree with you. I think there's some people out there trying it. I hope you're not. But if you're looking down and you have an expectation to see this putter moving straight back and straight through on the target line, I would agree with whoever just spoke up that that'd be a very difficult thing to achieve.
That's Brad again asking dumb questions, responding in his own way, you know. So
it's here's what I want you to think about. You got this putter. You're standing over here on one side of the putter, and the shaft and your arms are on a tilt. Like this golf club has tilt. It's not like the pendulum on your grandfather clock. So because it has tilt, if it truly swings in a straight line, which I hope it does, and not to confuse you, I want the putter to swing in a straight line. In other words, if the 2x4 was here, if the piece of wood was up here, I would want my club to ride along it straight. I wouldn't want it to come off it. If it does that, the putter head will arc in and back in on both sides of the ball. It'll take it back. It'll look like it goes in. It'll go out, back to the line, ride the line maybe for a few inches, and then back in. In other words, if you took a grandfather clock and you got the pendulum swinging, and then you got up on a ladder or something, you pulled the clock back and tilted it, and the pendulum kept swinging, and you look straight down at the base of the pendulum, it would arc. It would be moving straight, but also the bottom of it would be curving. Is everybody good with that geometry? So is the putting stroke straight? Yes. Does it curve? Yes. So when you make a putting stroke, if you could set up on your well putt mat, put the sweet spot on the white line, when you take the club back, just take it back any length you want, 6, 8, 10 inches. I hope the middle of the putter is now on the inside of the white line. And how much, I'm not going to go into too much on that, but you can certainly arc it too much. I'm not trying to force the arc. Again, that would mean I'm no longer on the straight line. If I'm truly swinging straight, you're going to get a little bit of arcing on the putter. And to give you a little bit of a guide, I would suggest that if you took the putter back from the circle, the 8, I guess, you got 1, 2, 3, there's an 8 there. I'm just past the 6-foot putt. I'm standing right over the number 8. I take the club back to that white line between the 10 and the 12. I would say that my sweet spot is approximately 1 inch off of being straight. So my putter head probably swung in about an inch in that foot. If that makes sense. And then as I go through and finish the stroke and hold my stroke in the finish, again, my sweet spot has kind of arced back in. So I think if you can just appreciate that and allow that putter head to swing, hopefully what feels straight, freely. You're going to see this little kind of arcing action on the putter. Is there any questions about that?
No, it makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Okay, and it's the same in the golf swing. You know, in the golf swing, bigger obviously, it's a bigger swing, but that club isn't going to swing toward the camera. It's going to naturally swing, you know, up and in. It's going to swing on that arc, and the putting stroke's kind of a mini version of that. So, okay, so let's go through a little bit of aiming. I think there's three key things to putting. If you want to be a good putter, you got to have these three skills. You need to be able to look at your putt and determine where you need to aim the putter. You need to be able to have awareness and sense of slope. If you were standing on ground that was tilted, let's just say I'm standing on ground right now and the ground is sloped 1%. And my right foot essentially is higher than my left by 1%. The question is, can you see that? Can you feel that? Unfortunately, some people have more awareness than others in this. Some people just can't sort of see the slope. What I'm going to tell you is that with some practice, you can learn that skill and get better at it, but reading the green, being able to identify what your ball's about to do and how much it's going to curve. If you struggle with making putts, there's a really good chance that you're not playing enough break. So if you see that there is some slope and it curves, most of you, the studies show that most golfers need to hit it higher up into the slope. I can't tell you how many golfers I play with, and they say they use the one ball. I don't know what it is with one ball, but one ball outside the right, one ball outside the left. They're always talking about aiming at the edges and one ball out, maybe one cup out. There's hardly any putts that are at that level. If you're outside 10 feet, if you're going right edge, I mean, it's essentially dead straight. And how often does that happen? I'm going to give you an idea. I'm going to quickly tell you, we can't go over this in detail, but aim point is a great system for reading greens. You'll see some players this weekend, you watch Ryder Cup, they'll stand over their putt, they'll either see them or their caddy will read the green, stand behind the ball, and put a finger up. And they're going to put up one finger if it's sloping 1%. So if right now you stood and looked at your putt out to the orange hole on this mat, I'm at about I'm probably at about 12 feet where I am right now. Let's say that this putt slopes 1% toward the windows. I got a little slight break. 1% is not much. But 1% would mean I put up one finger. I would hold the finger at a relaxing about 45-degree angle with my arm. That's based on normal speed greens. This would be like really, really slow greens. You'd straighten your arm and you'd bend it more if you were playing the Masters. But that's going to get you through most of your golf, about a 45-degree bend. So when I put my finger up and I put the left side of my finger on the middle of the hole, the right side of my finger is about one full cup outside the hole. And if this was bending 2%, if this was a 2% slope, I'd put 2 fingers and 3 fingers. So if you can identify the amount of slope you're dealing with, you can come up with, using the finger approach, you can calculate how much you need to aim the putt to the side. Okay, I'm not going to go through that much more detail other than to tell you it's not that difficult. You can download a level on your phone. There's apps you can download. You can lay your phone on the ground and it'll tell you how far to aim your putt right or left of the hole. If you're not playing tournaments, it's kind of cool. You might download the app. My friend Ralph Bauer just created a great one called Tour Read. He teaches tour pros putting. You want to check it out? I think it's called Tour Read. And wherever you are, you can lay it down. It'll read the slope and it'll tell you how far right or left of the hole to aim. Use it for a little while and you might really improve your green reading. Okay, so that's enough about green reading. But once you identify how far out to aim, oh, any questions? I kind of heard somebody there. Kevin, maybe?
Oh, no, I just coughed there. Sorry.
Okay. All good. So you got the green reading. The question is from there, 2 more skills. Can you hit that line? I said on this putt, 1 cup outside the right. What I do is I put a black line on the ball. So I always have a line on my ball. And then when I set the ball down, I can see that line. And I'm going to aim that line 4 inches outside the hole on this putt, 1% slope. I got 2 of the 3 nailed. I'm looking good. Now all I got to do is stand over the putt, aim my putter down that line, and hit it with good speed. Now, fortunately, the hole, I can hit a little too hard and probably catch the right edge of the hole. Hit it perfect, goes in the middle of the hole. Hit a little too soft, curves more, catch the left edge. There's a little bit of variance there. Okay, so you don't have to be perfect, and that's a nice thing. But, if I can read the green, hit the line, and have some pretty good arrival speed, get the ball arriving at the hole with nice speed, you're going to make some putts, and you're not going to 3-putt. So this mat has this good zone behind the hole, which is from here, looks like, I don't know, 1.5 feet or something. Yeah, absolutely. That's if you have all your balls arriving at the hole and they don't roll off the back of this mat, and you're only hitting the ball so it goes, 1.5 feet past the hole, you're going to make a lot of putts. Your ball's arriving at the hole slowly. You're not going to lip out as much, and you're not going to have 4-foot knee knockers to try to make for your second putt, leading to 3 putts. So focus on mostly in your putting on the pace. Your pace is good. You're not going to 3-putt. Arrival speed of the ball to the hole is the key. If your ball's arriving too fast, it really has to hit the middle of the hole. Start hitting the edges of the hole with too much speed, it's going to lip out. So arrival speed is super, super important. Tip for you guys, I know everybody's busy. I sometimes struggle with this too, but I really do try to get to the range before the round. Get there early. If you get to the golf course and you're rushing down the road to get there, and you're in traffic and you're driving like a maniac and your heart rate's up, and then you get out of the car and you're running to the first tee or waiting for the shuttle to pick you up, and you skip the warm up, that sort of scenario where you're rushing is not likely going to lead to a great day of golf. So try to get there early, keep the heart rate calm, have time to loosen the body up. And when it comes to the short game and the putting, definitely don't just go to the range and hit balls. Go to the short game and get a feel for the conditions around the green. If you want to have some sensitivity for having good touch and feel around the green, to be able to hit the shot softly and not sculling them and nailing them across the green, or hitting them too hard, and getting a feel for how thick the rough is, and do the sand traps have some nice sand in them, or are they really hard sand? Just go hit some shots. And even if you went to the short game area and hit 5 putts, 5 chips, 5 high pitches, 5 sand shots, and you spent a few minutes in the short game, it could go a long way. When you go to that first hole, you're on your first green of the day, you've got some experience that is valid, and will say that you'd be a little bit more calibrated to the surface that you're on. But if last week you played a course with greens stimping 7, very, very slow greens, and now you're at a really nice club that cuts the greens, takes great care of them, and they're rolling at 12, it's not looking good for you right now. You're probably going to smoke that first putt, and then you're going to be tentative the rest of the day. You're probably going to overcompensate in the next hole, hit it too soft, and you're going to struggle to be calibrated and feel like you're dialed in to the conditions. So try to get your calibration and your feel dialed in before you play. Really, really important. Any questions so far? I know I just kind of rattled through a lot of stuff there.
Well, I have, Sean, 2 comments. First of all, I've definitely learned something today. First of all, secondly, I realized that I need to learn some more. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Nope, just this was a lot of great insight, and I am going to work on that grip, the palm grip that you showed. So I was standing here just hitting a few putts. The ball went pretty straight a few times. So yeah, it was definitely. I've always been a reverse grip guy for years, and I've seen other guys try to change their putting stroke and do all that, and then they drive themselves crazy. So but you definitely take out a lot of the wrist whipping when you use the palm grip for sure, right? So
Yeah, that's great. That's sort of why I started with that. I don't know We might have some people dropping off the call the longer we go. I want to make sure I come out with something that I think if you go to a palm grip and you do nothing else and you weren't doing it before, that's definitely I definitely came out with my my ace of hearts there first and try to give you guys the best right out of the gate. All this other stuff is very helpful, but I agree. I think if you weren't using a palm grip and you try it, you're going to putt a lot better. How we doing for time, Mackenzie?
We are around 4:30, so
Okay.
up to you.
Yep. I got a couple more things to go over, guys, and appreciate you being on the call. If you have any questions, just chime in. I'm going to go over like a few drills that I love to do, things that like when I'm practicing to make it interesting and not boring. So when it comes to drills, the first thing would be a putting drill, a speed drill. I just went through the importance of speed and pace. To give you guys an idea, if you go to the putting green before you play and you want to do some speed drills, first thing I would tell you is try to do some form of what we call a ladder drill, which is hit a putt and watch it roll out. You don't even know how far it's going to go. Just hit a putt. Rolls out 10 feet, 12 feet. Whatever it rolls out, it rolls out. Watch it, look at it, go, okay, wow, that rolled a little further than I thought maybe, whatever. And now see if you can add a foot to it. See if you can roll a ball past it, but not too far past it, just past it. And then try to hit another ball just past that. And if I stood here and did this, imagine like somebody with really good feel. If I roll a ball right now, let's say 10 feet, and this is say a 30-foot green. It's probably more like 24. But if I roll a putt right now 10 feet, how many balls can I successfully hit past the next ball before I run out of room and I'm hitting the wall? So it's a simple little challenge, but roll a putt, try to roll one past it again, and how many can you successfully get past? The more balls that you can feed in between the first putt and the edge of the wall, you're more successful, and obviously your sensitivity and speed's better. I'm going to try to describe a really good drill I like. It's called the Jordan Spieth putting drill. He uses it. He's one of the best putters ever. If you set up on the putting green a 10-foot putt, bear with me here, but this is the best putting speed drill I know. You set up a 10-footer, you put a tee in the ground. You set up a 20-footer, put a tee in the ground, a 30-footer, and a 40-footer. So you got a tee in the ground at 10, 20, 30, 40. Behind the hole, you put a tee 1 foot past the hole, 2 foot past the hole, and 3 feet past the hole. So you got 1, 2, 3 feet past the target. You hit the 10-footer. You only have the first foot to work with. If you want, you can just forget the hole. You just have a foot. You could put a tee and then the next tee. So you're trying to get it past the first tee from the 10-footer into this 1 foot, we'll call it end zone. If you get it in the 1 foot space from the 10-foot putt, you get to move back a foot to the 11-footer. If you don't make the 10-footer, you hit it again. Once you make it, finally in between the 1 foot, you move back to 11 feet. You have to make it to move back a foot. Once you get to the 20-footer, you get 2 feet of space. You get the second foot. You can remove the middle tee if you want. So now you're going from the original tee, foot, and then another foot. Now you got a 2-foot end zone from 20 feet. And you do the same thing from 20 to 30. You get it in the 2-foot end zone, you move back a foot. Get to the 30-footer, you make it. From there on to 40, you got 3-foot end zone to work with. Great drill. It's random. You're not hitting the same putt over and over. There's consequence. You don't get to keep moving back if you don't make it. A little bit of pressure. And by the end of it, I'm telling you, you will be absolutely dialed in. You'll have hit a successful putt into the zone from 10, 11, 12, all the way up to 40 feet. You'll have hit so many different putts of different lengths successfully. So it's, I'll just say when you putt or do anything in golf, there's a reason why people are better in the practice area and can't take it to the golf course, and they struggle under pressure. If you want to be a better pressure performer, you have to find a way to increase the pressure and intensity of your practice. If your practice is casual, if you can miss it and there's no consequence, You're like, oh, whatever, I got another ball. I'll make the next one. If there's no consequence to what you're doing, you're never putting with any real intensity. And when you go play golf in a match or against your friends, you're going to feel a lot more pressure, and that's not something you'll be used to feeling, and you probably will not be able to access your skills. So our mental coach talks a lot about you got skills, you build your skills. Question is, when you go play, can you access those skills? If you lose access to the skill, it doesn't mean you don't have the skill. You probably go to the practice putting green, start making them right now. You have the skill, you can do it. But if you're not accessing it, it probably means that your intensity of your practice isn't high enough. I hope that makes sense, but try to find ways to practice where the intensity is actually higher.
What was the name of that drill again?
It's the Jordan Spieth, we just call it the Jordan Spieth putting drill, but maybe the Jordan Spieth lag putting drill. You could probably Google it too. There's variations of it. You might find something that reads and is described slightly different than what I said. I believe he moves back in 6-inch increments, not a foot. I'm just trying to give you guys a time to get back to your busy lives and let you move in foot increments and not 6 inches. It could take a lot longer if you only move back 6 inches. He also, if he's unsuccessful with the putt, he loses 6 inches. I didn't describe it that way to you guys. That would be the harder version of it. If you don't successfully get it in the zone, you lose a foot, you move closer to the hole. That could take a long time to get through that variation of the drill. But I would suggest you try it as I described first, and if you get really good at it, you could start moving backward in 6-inch increments. And then you could also add in that if you don't get it in your end zone, you have to lose your foot and actually move closer to the hole. Saw a nice comment there that used a similar strategy with archery. I want to just bring up something else that is one of my favorite things in putting. I do it a lot with my competitive players. Somewhat, I think, comes from archery, according to the golf coach that taught it to me. Said it was a little bit of sort of some strategies coming across from other sports like archery. But bear with me here, but watch this. I'm going to show you my favorite little thing that helps me make putts. Actually, it's a 2-part process, but in my pre-shot routine when I putt, a couple of key pieces to it. One, just before I go, like you'll see me when I'm setting up, getting comfortable, my feet are moving. I'm just trying to get set up comfortably with my grip, my stance, my posture, my ball position. And I'm taking some glances at the hole. They're not gazes. I'm not staring at the hole. I'm just trying to take these little glances, trying to make sure I'm oriented to the hole the way I want to be, or to my aim line, wherever that is. In this case, at the hole, because it's straight. So I'm taking these glances at the hole. And once I'm ready to go, this is probably my favorite tip I'm going to give you the day. You're settled. You're ready. You look back at the hole for your last look. You're going to stare at the hole for 4 seconds and take a 4-second breath in. And then I'm going to turn my eyes back to the ball, exhale, and then putt. Now, I didn't actually do it there because I was talking and not breathing. But when you're ready to go, you're ready to pull the trigger and hit the putt. Put your eyes on your target. Breathe in for 4 seconds. Feels fantastic. Start taking your eyes, moving them back to the ball. We'll call it a slow head turn. Don't jerk the head back to the ball. Slow head turn back to the ball. The whole time your head is turning back to the ball and your eyes are coming from the target back to the ball, you're exhaling. Now you're looking at the ball. You probably got a fraction of a breath left to exhale. You're just looking at your ball. Once the breath is exhaled and all gone, you pull the trigger. You make your putt. You will never stand over a ball too long. I don't know if you ever played golf, seen somebody that's like stand over forever. They're scared to hit it. This will keep you moving and in your process and pulling the trigger. But it also makes sure you don't get too quick. I've seen people get nervous and they just look like they rush the routine and they get too quick. So it gives you a consistent timing and tempo, and that can really lead into a nice, smooth putting stroke. I find I take the putter back way too quick when I don't do this. But if I do the nice slow head turn with the 4-second breath and the exhale, I get a nice, smooth putting stroke. So try that one. It's kind of tapping into some mental stuff there a little bit. but that can work really well. I've heard a lot of people. I've had a lot of success with people implementing that. Any questions?
Great advice.
Thank you. I think you'll see that in other sports too. Like on some level, like you see someone at the free throw line, they're doing their dribbles, they're spinning the ball, and then probably the last thing they do just before they go, they do their last dribble, they look up quite often, a nice breath, and go. So I mean, you see it, certainly see it in other sports too. I'll say a couple more quick ones, and then we'll see if there's any questions. I love putting with one hand. I find my mental coach, my putting was just awful a few years back, and my distance was really bad. I just couldn't seem to get the pace. I was getting in my own way. I overthinking it, I guess. So he said, I want you to do two things. Scrap the whole process, like no practice strokes, just look at the hole once, maybe your 4 seconds, that's it. So he said, just set up, scrap everything else you did, because I used to do these at practice strokes and stuff. He said, just put your putter behind the ball, set up, do your 4-second look, and go. Only have one look, no practice strokes, and I used one hand. And my pace was perfect. I couldn't believe it. A one-hand putting stroke with one look at the hole, no glances, no practice strokes. And I was making so many putts, and everything was really close if I didn't make it. So sometimes what you might say is just scrapping some stuff, simplifying the process. Like if you try this, like I want you to think about this. You hit a putt, or someone hits a putt and you're up by the hole, and they say, "Hey, hit that back to me." And I think if you casually like this right now, even in the stance I'm in, improper putting stance, I'm going to putt towards the thing that's under the computer screen. There's 3 wheels. One hand, one look, and go. I'm not kidding. I hit the wheel. I don't know if you could hear it, but there's 3 wheels. They're each about an inch and a half thick. I was probably at 12 feet, and I just hit the right wheel with really not much to my pre-shot process. So we're very capable as humans of like targeting and our awareness of where things are and getting my putter face at the right line, but we can get in our own way, certainly in many ways in life, but certainly be an athlete, use your intuitiveness. And that's what I try to remind myself when I putt. Just be athletic. Like just react to the target a little bit. Tiger Woods' dad used to say to him, putt to the picture. That's essentially what I just did. I gave my brain a picture. I just looked at the right wheel, and then I putted to the picture in my mind, and I hit it. So hopefully that can help some of you guys as well. I talk about you got to go both ways. Increase the intensity, really work on everything, but then also remember to be instinctive and athletic when it comes down to actually playing golf. Hopefully you've built some good habits, your posture's good, everything's good, and then you can kind of just be reactive when you get in that box and go putt. Any questions about that? Covering some exciting stuff. Hopefully you guys are getting something out of this. The one-handed I covered. I love putting with one hand. Sometimes when I'm warming up before the range, that's all I'm doing. Just try to stay casual and not get too before the round when maybe my heart rate's getting too hyped up, to calm myself down a little bit. I just try to make my putt sometimes with one hand. It just keeps me a little bit relaxed, not to get the nerves going too much. I'll say this, another great one I think helped me be a great putter. When I was a kid, we didn't have a driving range at the course I grew up at, or we'll say very much a lack of a range. It was a very short range. So we often just putted because the range was so small. So we putted a lot, and then we competed. And me and my brothers and all the kids that were at that golf course, just competing. You want to be a good putter, you're with your buddy on the green, is just go around, pick holes. Whoever won the last hole gets to pick the next hole, and just compete and just try to make putts. And we used to, putt for at the time for whatever reason, a pop with grenadine. Used to have grenadine, whatever that is, red stuff, at the bar in the clubhouse, and go in, and whoever won got a pop with grenadine. But anything, putt for a ball, putt for the ball. Each throw a good ball down on the ground. Using my my TaylorMade ball here, but find a good ball out of your bag and putt for it. If you lose, you lose your ball. You win, you gain a ball. So that's very simple. It's random, which is good. You're not hitting the same putt over and over. You're moving around the green and hitting lots of different putts, which is good as well. So good. I've covered off most of what I wanted to cover. There's certainly more we could do, that's for sure. And if you guys are keen, I'm happy to go into some more, probably a few more things I didn't go into, but I've covered most of it. If anybody has any questions or anything personal, if you want to stay on the line and ask me, I'm happy to stay on the line for a little bit and answer some of your questions.
Just want to say thanks for all your input today. Lots of great tips, and we'll definitely be trying them out.
Awesome. You're welcome.
Hopefully I remember them all.
We're building, I told you at the beginning there, we're expanding next door and taking on the same size unit. And it's going to have 5 large simulator bays, but it's also going to have a 1,500 square foot short game area. So I'm really excited. The putting green that we're going to be getting over there is going to have curve and slope. We're going to have putts, 1, 2, even 3%, which would be, when you have a pretty big breaking putt, that would be about a 3% slope. So we're going to have all those. We're going to be able to help our students learn how to read them and really improve their short game. So yeah, if we ever do this again, I'll try to get this set up in the new and improved short game area over there, and maybe we can actually hit some putts and talk a little more about hitting the putts on a surface that isn't flat. So that could be fun. Anyway, hope you guys, if you don't stay on and have any more questions, have a great rest of the season. And use your mats and work on your putting over the off season this winter, and hopefully make a lot of putts out there next summer.
Thank you so much, Sean. We really appreciate your time, and a huge thank you to Cisco for sponsoring today, and thanks to all our customers for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean.
Hope everyone has a great rest of the day. Take care.
You're welcome, guys.
Yep. Thank you very much.
I'll stay on for a minute in case anybody has any questions.
Sean, you there?
I am.
This is going to be random. I'm a left-handed guy, and I've only ever tried to play with right-handed clubs, and it's a bit of a mess because I never know which hand to use for what. Anything come to mind as a comment? I mean, obviously everything has been very valuable that you've said today. I'll try and do my best with it.
Yeah, so I'll tell you that. So you're left-handed, but you swing right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to tell you, first of all, that can work. And there's some great golfers. Some of my best students that have got to the highest level is that way. I'd be interested to see your swing, but it's been my experience that when that's the case, that quite often the golfer has less flip in their swing. I'd say one of the worst things in the golf swing that we see as instructors is that when you come down to hit the ball, the thing that separates, certainly bad from good and good from great is the ability for you to come in and look like this at impact. And the worse the golfer, the more they look like this and this and this and this. So we call it flippy, where there's flipping at the ball, where the pros don't flip at it. They get the handle forward, they let the club lift the ball. And it's been my experience that people with your situation quite often flip less. There's less of you out there, with your scenario for whatever reason, but I've seen it work very well. I'd be interested to see your swing and see if you're a flipper or not. Maybe you can comment on that, whether you feel like you get flippy at the bottom, but I just want to tell you that I've seen it work very well. So don't think that it has to be changed.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. I'll keep working on it. I don't think I'm super flippy. I think generally what I tend to do is I tend to Sorry, I'm going to close the window here. There's a truck sitting out there on the street. I think I tend to more hit the ground before the ball.
Okay. Yeah, and there's a lot of things factors that can go into that. You know, chunking and thinning are obviously very common mishits in golf. Hitting it chunky, hitting it thin. You know, trying to find that like just right pure contact. But there's a lot of factors that go into that. Like where is your body at impact? I'll try to just go through a little bit. But when I'm hitting a full golf shot, you know, where you are this way or this way is going to have a lot to do with where you bottom out. The other thing is, as you come down, getting the right body angle, which would be that like my hips and pelvis are going to be a little closer to the target in a full golf swing than my sternum, if that makes sense. So we see golfers sometimes get like too lean this way, and they come down, the club comes down into the ground too steep. See, with professionals, the pelvis is going to get a little closer to the target than the upper body. There's that slight tilt. Of course, you can be too much tilt, but that orientation of like where your body is and your spine angle, where your head is essentially as well at impact. Where your head is super important to where you're going to hit the ground. So there's more to it than that. But yeah, if you're struggling with chunky and thin, you know, certainly go take a lesson. But you know, if you send me a quick video, pretty busy right now with the opening of this business, but you know, at some point certainly I would try to take a quick look at a face-on video at the driving range, 90 degrees. So just try to get the person like right here, filming you hit a ball. Make sure they're backed up enough that I can see where the ball is, and I might be able to kind of quickly see what's going on, send you some feedback.
Well, I really appreciate your feedback. I certainly wouldn't want to put you out, and you're right. Yeah, I should get a lesson, but it's all pretty much gold. I really appreciate everything that you've mentioned. Thank you.
You're welcome. What part of where are you? What part of Canada?
I'm down in Penticton, down in Lower Mainland, not Lower Mainland, Southern Okanagan.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Yeah, I spent a very little time out that way, but it's a beautiful part of the country.
Just south of Kelowna. So
Yeah.
the vineyards.
We played in we had our Canadian PGA Championship there probably 2007 or something, and spent a week out there. It's a really really nice area.
It's beautiful. Lots of golf courses, which is why I'm going to try and get this right.
Yeah, we played and stayed at Predator Ridge.
Yes, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, so nice. We had a little cottage right on the, I don't know what it was, maybe the 17th or 16th hole, but what a view. It was beautiful.
Pretty place. Well, thank you so much for your time today, and
You're
sorry to have kept you. I really appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean, I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
I'm a consistent puller of my putts. Actually, putting, chipping, pretty much everything tends to go left on me.
Yep.
Any tips there?
Yeah, I mean, I see this very common. Number one would be get somebody to get a video of you putting from back here, like behind. So you're going to hit the putt, and they're going to be maybe even down on the ground. You could even film your own stroke from ground level. Lay your phone down. If you can even just set up comfortably, and then get somebody to come around, take a picture maybe from this way too. What we want to see is how does the putter sit on the ground? We really want it sitting flush. It's been my experience that most golfers hold the putter. Remember earlier I talked about raising the hands, like feeling like your handle went up, get rid of some of the tilt. That usually gets the toe down on the ground and gets the putter sitting flat. I'd say literally 9 out of 10 golfers I see, the toe is up a little bit. They don't see it. When you look down from your eye perspective, you don't see it, but it's up a little bit. When the putter sits slightly toe up, it creates pulls. As soon as it sits this way, if I launch a ball off a putter toe up, it's going to launch, let's say, a degree to the left. But at 1 degree in putting is enough to miss it left. So that's a big, big factor. Other than that, video your stroke from overhead. Get somebody to just take a camera and video it looking straight down. You want to know where you're hitting the ball off the face. If you're hitting it a little bit on the heel side, even if it's a little bit, if the collision is on this side of the center of gravity, see, if I hit a ball here, the putter stays flush through impact. You hit the middle. If you hit the middle, it'll stay solid. But if I hit the heel, it'll do this. The face will
Just
flip
turn in on
shut.
itself.
It'll turn in on it a little bit and shut the face. So where the ball connects with the mass affects the angle of the face through the impact interval. People think of impact as like a moment that almost has no time, but you measure it and there's actually some time where the ball is on the face. It might only be a half centimeter or a couple millimeters, but during that couple millimeters is the face closing, opening, or staying square, and that's based on the contact. So the ball will leave more to the left if you hit the heel.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say make sure the angle's good and really make sure you're not hitting the heel is what comes to mind.
Yeah, given that it's with my chipping and full swing, I'm probably closing the face on all of those.
Yeah, and chipping, same thing. You look at a world-class chipper, two things they do with chipping. They choke down, grabbing a chipping club, but they always choke down to the bottom. Like when I chip, I'm literally gripping it right at the bottom. You're not going to see any of my grip. I'm right at the edge of the steel. And that automatically gets the club sitting more like this and less like this. Less toe up, more toe down. So as soon as I get the toe down on the ground more, that club is going to stay square through impact, and the heel won't grab and shut when I hit the rough.
Yeah.
So yeah, standing close to the ball when you chip, choking down and feeling like the shaft. You actually want to feel when you chip like you get the toe. I know I talked a lot about getting it flat, but I would recommend with chipping almost feeling like you're overdoing it. Like feel like the toe actually goes down a touch. And that way the heel won't dig in and flip shut on you.
Okay. It might even need lie adjustment on clubs, putters, whatever.
Absolutely.
Too, right? Yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Nice to have some questions.
I'm going to step away. This has been very helpful, Sean. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I noticed it's recorded. Is there a possibility, do we just contact CDW to kind of get, there was a lot of information today, so it'd be nice to kind of go back and revisit some of it.
Yeah, you'll have to ask Mackenzie there, I guess.
You're on mute. Thanks, Gary. I was just going to say, we'll definitely be sending over a copy of the presentation and the recording tomorrow morning.
Well, thank you very much, Mackenzie.
No problem.
Sorry, I didn't see you were there. I thought you had dropped off. But thanks again, Sean. Very helpful. I actually opposite from one of the other calls. I'm right-handed, but I swing left, so I do have the opposite there. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, thanks again, Sean. I really appreciate it. We'll probably close off here, but thank you so much for your time, and thanks for taking the extra time to kind of get those one-on-one questions. That was awesome.
Yeah. No, it's good. It was nice to have the questions and be able to answer them.
Yeah, for sure. We'll really appreciate it. And
all right.
See you again soon.
All right. All the best. See you guys.
Have a good one.
Take
care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, guys.